This is Colin O'Keefe here once again for LXPN TV. The recent Target data breach and other cybersecurity developments have led to a push from Congress for national data breach legislation. To shed light on the 5 pieces of legislation that have been put forth thus far, I am joined now from Washington, D.C. by attorney Mina Harris. She is with Covington & Burling, an author on the firm's blog, Inside Privacy. Mina, first, when we take a look at these 5 pieces of legislation that have been put forth thus far, what common themes stand out to you as far as big issues that they include and also ones they might miss?
So in terms of common themes, the purpose of each bill is to create a national and exclusive standard for data breach notice. The idea is obviously to protect consumers by facilitating business responsiveness to data breaches. Perhaps most significant is that what this means is a national standard would, in one fell swoop, eliminate all of the currently existing state data breach laws that are currently in place. So far, 46 states, DC, Guam, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands have passed their own laws to protect their consumers and hold businesses accountable. But a federal law would sweep away that entire patchwork regime that's now in place. So that's, of course, enforced by state attorneys general, and I think that will definitely be a point of controversy, and we can expect to hear from state AGs on that issue. In terms of enforcement, it's important to note that none of these bills would require notice in all cases. All of them require some risk of harm. So each bill has language, for example, that there must be some reasonable risk of fraud, of identity theft, or some other unlawful conduct that is likely to result in financial harm to consumers. 4 of the 5 bills will leave enforcement in the hands of state and federal actors. One of the bills, only one bill, Senator Blumenthal's, actually allows for a private right of action, which would give individuals the right to sue businesses for failing to comply with the law. And that, I think, also is definitely going to be a point of controversy.
Certainly. And then second, of those pieces of legislation that have been proposed thus far, which one of them stands out as having the best chance at a legitimate future, and where does it go from here?
As I mentioned, Senator Blumenthal's is the only bill that allows for a private right of action. I think that provision is going to present a significant obstacle to that bill passing. Another, point of controversy I mentioned was the preemption. State AGs who are currently enforcing their state laws are not going to take kindly to being, divested of jurisdiction, especially in a hot area like this. If these bills do pass with preemption, state AGs have already said that a federal law and a federal regime certainly shouldn't be weaker than current state laws. I can tell you from my perspective, as an attorney who represents companies and advises on compliance with state laws, that these bills, passed would have been great a few years ago, but now we become so skilled at advising our clients on this sort of patchwork quilt of state regulation. So, while I recognize that a national standard would help businesses to simplify their obligations, it will definitely create some issues in terms of adjusting to that standard. Aside from that, it's really anybody's guess if any of these bills have legs. As you may know, data breach legislation has been introduced in previous Congresses, and that didn't really move anywhere. A number of people are saying sort of that this time is different, and the legislation has been proposed in response to these major national incidents. But the truth is that's sort of what always happens in these cases. I will say that this time around there does seem to be sort of vocal support. For example, to my knowledge, this is the first time that we've ever had a sitting United States Attorney General come out and talk about the issue and actually call on Congress to act. So just last week, Eric Holder called on Congress and urged them to pass a national data breach notification standard. So that's pretty big. But like I said, I think, at a juncture like this with recent high-profile breaches at Neiman Marcus and Target, people are definitely talking seriously. But as I said, it's sort of what always happens, and it's usually in response to these big national events that garner national attention. So I think we'll just have to wait and see.
Absolutely. Eric Holder, as you mentioned, has made a public cry for something to happen on this front, but it remains to be seen if anything will. So, as you mentioned, we will have to just keep an eye on it and see what happens. Once again, that was attorney Mina Harris. She is with Covington & Burling in Washington, D.C., and be sure to read her insight on this legislation and other issues in the data privacy space. You can read her insight. It is at insideprivacy.com. Thank you for joining me today, Mina.
Thank you, Colin. Take care.